G'day, Trooper Cody and Steve. Since I've been making these videos, I get to see other people's videos, and I got to see one recently in which a person was running a history channel, had a lot of subscribers and a lot of viewers. I actually had an English history professor come on the channel, and she was saying that one of the biggest myths of World War I was what fantastic horseman the Australian soldier was. But if you were in the Australian Light Horse in 1914, you were an outstanding horseman. I use the word horseman because there were no women in the Light Horse. There were no women at the remount depots. There were, in the Second World War, yes, there were women pilots flying over Britain during the Second World War. Auxiliary pilots flying Spitfires. Terrific, wonderful that they did that. They were letting the blokes go into combat, but those women weren't in combat. But it was a different story in World War I. There were no women in the Light Horse. So that's really why I use the terminology. A horseman. And the thing is that prior to the war starting, there were very strict rules about being in the Australian Light Horse, because it was obviously a reserve then. And one of the things was, in the regulations, you could only be in the Light Horse if you brought your own horse with you. And you got paid for bringing that horse, and roughly you had to do 16 days a year, and if you did 16 days a year, you got £1 and 1 shilling for providing your horse for 12 months, 16 days service. That's only, I'm sitting out at my campsite, so that's only approximate. Don't tear me a second bottom if I've got that slightly wrong. So anyway, it shows that I was very disappointed to see that, because, without being rude, the person professed to be a professor of history and was extremely demeaning to Australians. And I don't think that's really the right thing in a show that was supposed to be about history. If you're looking here, what you can see is the campfire, and there's no way the campfire's going. It's going to be 35 degrees Celsius today. It's about 11:15 in the morning. It is really stinking hot already. We're down at our campsite. You can see how dry it is. And what we do when we get down here is I just loosen off the boy's girth. Got the reins with me here. Take the reins off, put the stirrups up, just like they would in the Light Horse. Let the horse graze. In the 1914 manual of the Light Horse, it says, let the horse graze at every opportunity. How often are you out on a trail ride and you're riding along and you don't want your horse to be grazing here and there? Well, in the Light Horse you did, because you never knew when you were going to get your next meal, for the horse that is. So there he is, off free grazing. And what's great to see, perhaps I should make another video, because we're out in the middle of nowhere here. This particular paddock this one's only a 60-acre paddock. The boy could go anywhere. And what'll happen is, when I go to get him, will he run off, or he will just stand there as I walk up to him? So I'll make a separate video of that. I've finished this one here. Anyway, this was all about philosophizing about how a history professor can make a blanket statement which was wrong. Basically, it was wrong to make a blanket statement like that. I'm starting to rave. Cheers, cobbers.